Are we rolling?
We are rolling.
Oh! Let me sit up for the intro before I start slouching like crazy.
What's up, and welcome to episode 2 of The Indie Artist, a podcast that dives into everything that has to do with being an independent artist, the ups and downs, and any tips we might have to help you guys out with your own art, as we are independent artists ourselves. Today with me I have Ezra Hersick, writer, actor, painter. Am I missing anything? Photographer?
Yeah. I think that's all of them. Yeah.
Okay,
Those are the
great.
main ones.
Yeah.
Disc golfer.
Yeah. Disc golfer. Would you like to give yourself any type of intro?
No, I mean, you kind of nailed it. I think part of being an independent artist is that you're only really lucky if you get to do it full time. So I don't do any of those things full time. My full-time job is as a news writer, so I still get to write, but it's a very different kind of writing. But the hope is that as I develop in my other various artistic things, that will sort of supplant my adult job with something that I enjoy doing more. So that's the only other thing I would add is that, like, I do write for a living, but not, like, narratively or poetically.
That's great. That's great. Just for reference, Ezra, before I just gave that intro, I had no idea what this podcast was.
I had no idea.
Last episode, I pretty much talked about just what I do as wanting to be a filmmaker and wanting to be a writer, and my life as a whole and how I got there and what has somewhat inspired me. And Cole Whitehurst was on, and he acted in my thesis, and he talked about what he's doing. He's working as a security guard right now.
Oh, is he actually?
When you don't have anybody backing you, generally you have a different job that's not anything to do with your art.
Right.
So we talked a lot about that and how he will generally bring notebooks and stuff to his work because he just sits behind a desk most of the day.
Imagine, yeah.
So he does a lot of his writing behind, during his job, during his day job.
That makes sense, yeah.
What would you say is your main passion of all of those that I just mentioned? Is there something that you would like to focus on the most in the future?
Yeah, I mean, acting is definitely I would say my first love of many loves. You can love many things. Which is actually how I met Tyler. I was acting in a thesis for our friend Nathan. But yeah, acting is definitely the thing that, my dad always talks about, doing the thing that makes you feel like the most you. And I think acting is one of those things where I just feel like the most fulfillment for me.
Mm-hmm.
Which is weird because it's not actually being the most me, it's usually me being somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
But, it is the most satisfying thing to me. And, when... whether it's stage or film, when you rap on a day and you're proud of what you did, and you low-key know oh man, today was good. I felt it. Today was good. That feeling for me is the most satisfying thing. But at the same time, it is one form of self-expression, and at least for me, I want to discover as much as I can about myself.
Mm-hmm.
If something interests me, it's I wonder if I can do that. I want to see if there's a side of me that I can do that. So, there's a side of me that loves acting, but there's a side of me that also loves writing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I just want to keep trying different things so I can kind of discover more about what I'm interested in, what I'm good at, because I also have tried plenty of things and I'm well, I suck at that. I can't really sing. I did one open mic and people literally walked out of the room. It was embarrassing. It was terrible. I was well, I tried it. Not for me. But acting has been that thing where it's man, I'm always learning the more I do it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is also part of what draws me to it is no one film is the same. There's so much more I don't know about it that I want to learn. I'm aware that I have blind spots in acting that I want to keep pushing. I want to play different kinds of characters. There's new characters that I keep wanting to experiment with and try just to see am I able to do it?
Yeah. What started your acting career then, or acting your want to start acting?
My acting passion.
Yeah,
It is not a
what-
career yet.
What started your acting passion?
Yeah.
Or any sort of, I mean, that goes for all types of your creative endeavors that you've done.
Right.
But like, what got you into, I guess, if acting was that first thing, what got you into acting first?
Honestly, I got into it doing improv comedy. Me and my brothers went to this camp in upstate New York every summer for like 10 years. And when I was around like middle school age, I was probably like 11 or 12, I became really good friends with, we call them the program guys. They were the guys that were in charge of like emceeing all the events and doing all like the skits and stuff for the kids. I ended up becoming friends with them. And so they were like, oh, this kid's funny. We're going to put him in the skits. So like at the end of every week at this camp, they would have comedy night. And it was just like a series of like somewhat structured skits and then just a bunch of improv. And for whatever reason, these like 20-year-old program guys were like, yo, this 11-year-old kid is funny. We're just going to put him in here and he's going to just be an idiot for like an hour. And like I had a blast. And apparently I was like decently funny that they asked me to do it again the next week. And then every summer since I guess that would have been like the next 6-7 summers, every Friday I would go back and I would do comedy night with them. And it was like so much fun, especially when I was like younger, because like you feel so cool, like you get to be on stage
Hanging
and
out
like
with
all your other like
guys and-
cabin mates are like, how did you get up there? And I'm like, I'm funny.
I'm the
dude.
funny guy.
Like, I'm the funny, literally. So like when you're 11, 12, you're like, this is awesome. And then literally like when I was 13, one of the program guys had to leave early to go back to university, and they asked me to literally come on staff for the week and just be the program guy. So I emceed the events, I did the comedy night, I would I would be there during like meal hours, and I would tell people like when they could go up and, get their food and whatever. And I was literally 13, and I was like leading 250 kids through events and stuff. And that was during the summers, because during the year we were living overseas, so I didn't really have access to any of that until we resettled in the U.S. And I think it was when I was
Did your dad in the military?
humanitarian, so like disaster response, relief and development.
Okay.
So we were moving so frequently that like starting at a new school just wasn't practical.
Yeah.
There were international schools where, like, in theory, I could have done something performance related or art related, but we moved so often it didn't make practical sense to do that. But then when we resettled in the United States, when I was 13, I didn't have any outlet really. That is when I started doing photography. My dad got me my own camera. I had a camera that I shared with my brothers, but he got me my own.
What was it?
I still have it. It's a Sony A6, A6000. Still have it. It's like one of my favorites because it's like a little bit above a point and shoot, but you can still swap lenses and stuff on it.
I love hearing about people's like first cameras.
Yeah, and like honestly, I love the Sony format. Like the A7 series, they're fantastic cameras. They're really, really good. So yeah, I got the camera. I think it was probably 14 when I got the camera. So I started doing photography because I literally didn't know anybody when I first moved here. So like I was walk around in the woods by myself with my camera because like I didn't have anything else to do. And then I was going to church, and one of like my two friends at this church was like, "Hey, I'm doing a theater show. You should come see it." And so I went and I watched it. And it was a comedy, and it was hilarious, and I was like laughing my butt off. I was having a great time, and I was like, those kids look like they're having a lot of fun. Like, I want to do that, because like I loved the stage at that point because I'd done improv for the previous like 4 or 5 summers, and I was like, I want to get back on the stage, but I had never done anything like acting wise other than like one Christmas show at a church. So I auditioned the next show that they did, and then literally since that show, I have been acting as much as I can since then. I love the theater. I love doing comedies, and dramas, which some people they would skip one year if it was a drama and they didn't want to do it. They would just come back the next year when they're doing a comedy.
Mhm.
I love them both. And I genuinely credit that acting group, shout out City on a Hill Youth Theater, I credit them for like so much of how I learned to communicate as like a high school age person.
Mhm.
How to kind of find an emotional voice, find a creative voice, you know, develop a character, and so much of that I learned through that group, and it was genuinely foundational for me, especially resettling in the United States and like finding a community of people, being a part of a group that is doing something together, and it's especially like live theater, it is a team sport. Like you can't really have an ego. There's some egos, but like you can't, because everyone has to do their best or the show does not work. And that was really, really foundational for me. And I did, I think, 8 or 9 shows with them. And they always made me like the dad or an old dude, because my voice like dropped sooner than most of my like high school age friends. So like I was literally a 15-year-old or 16-year-old, and they're like painting a beard on my face, and they're just like, use your dad voice, and I'd just be like,
Isn't that the best?
come here, son. But like I was the only one that could do the deep voice, so they always made me the dad, or like the romantic one. Like when we did anything like Jane Austen, like we did Sense and Sensibility and Pride and Prejudice, and they always made me like the romance boy, which is great. Like I love doing that stuff.
Is there a point where you went from like this is just like a fun hobby to like I want to be an actor? Is that point hit yet, or like?
I honestly don't know if there was a ever conscious decision. I do remember when I think it was when we did Sense and Sensibility, and that was my first time doing like a serious role. Where I was playing Willoughby, and he has this big moment with Elizabeth on the doorstep, and he shows up drunk, and she basically gives him the what for and like talks him down, and he has this sort of like a big emotional moment. And I was terrified doing that scene because I'd never done anything like that. And then we had a great show, and like I nailed the scene. I felt so good about it. I go back out on stage to take my bow, and everybody's on their feet. And it was the first time I had a standing ovation for like my performance, and I was like, "Yep, this is it. I love this." Like, and it sounds really prideful, but it's like when you know you did a good job, and then that work is recognized, you're like that. Like, I didn't know I was capable of that. I didn't know I was capable of making something that people are like, that was good.
Yeah.
And so I think I've been low-key trying to just chasing that high every time I act, because I'm like, I want to do good work. But then once I started like doing film, the first time I did a film, at least I did one thesis film when I like first moved here, and it was terrible.
Shout out. No.
I don't even remember his name. It might be like Jordan or something. I'm still friends with one person, Taryn, who's the audio up, but I don't remember. It was not a good film, low-key. But like when I started doing I did the film with Nathan, I did that as like a favor to him, because he was like, I had known Nathan from doing theater, and he was like, hey, do you still want to act? And I was like, yeah, dude, for sure. He's like, okay, we'll do my thesis. And then I had a blast on Nathan's, and then I met Jake, and I did Jake's, and then I met Micah, and then I worked with Micah, and then I just kept meeting people, and I was like, oh, like, people want to hire me. Like, I didn't necessarily even seek it out, but like, people were like, oh yeah, no, you want to do my film too? And I was like, yeah, dude, sure.
Yeah.
Because I get to do this thing that I really enjoy doing, but like, people kept calling me. And I feel very lucky and fortunate that people are like, hey, I saw your stuff. I think you're good. Do you want to do my film? I'm like, for sure. So honestly, like, majority of the films I've done in the last 3 years have been word of mouth, people being like, hey, I need somebody, do you have somebody you recommend? And people will just hand out my phone number. And so...
Yeah, I feel like that's honestly that's like all artistic, like, connections are everything.
Right.
Like, nobody, for the most part, You don't go seek out jobs. Jobs come to you because you know people.
Right, and especially in, we're not in a big city, so it's like the pool of people doing that kind of work is pretty limited, and like the pool of male actors who can do drama and comedy is not a very big pool.
Yeah.
That's why, like, when we go to like showcases, it's the same like 6 dudes that just keep getting. It's like me traveling.
I was gonna say
Matt Owen.
Traveling being in my thesis was just like, I got traveling guys.
Yeah, and like and then you got Chuck and Seth, and it's like it's all of like the same group of guys that get recycled. It's much harder for women because there's so many good female actresses here.
Yeah.
So like I'm also aware that like, okay, I'm one of like 5 or 6 dudes, so it's like maybe I'm not that good. It's just there's not very many of us, but that's like. I keep having this conversation with myself over the past year as I'm kind of deciding, to move and go somewhere else. It's like, I want to keep acting. Because I think, and this is going to sound prideful, it's like, I'm not amazing. Like, I know I'm not Daniel Day-Lewis, I'm not even Paul Giamatti. But like, I'm just good enough that it's worth it for me to try. Like if I just sucked, I wouldn't try. If I did like one film and people were like, "Yeah, that's great," I would be like, "Okay, it's not for me. I'm not gonna pursue this." But I'm like, there's just enough potential that I'm like, well, what if I just like kept going with it and see how much more I can learn and just see where it takes me, Because it's also a creative art that is probably the most competitive creative art, like if you're a filmmaker, you can just make your own movies, right? If you're a painter, nothing's stopping you from painting. If you're an actor, you're relying on someone giving you an opportunity, and that is like super super difficult, and it's just not guaranteed. And there are probably thousands of like incredible actors who have just never been given their opportunity.
I feel like that's why you see a lot of like actors turned writer director, because they just like
they're like, screw it, I'm gonna do it myself.
They're like, I want to act in something. I guess I'll just make something for me to act in.
Right, and I respect the hell out of those guys, because it's like.
But then it's like you're forcing yourself to have to learn something else so that you can do the passion you actually want to do.
Right, but like, there are also a lot of actors who have been acting for 35, 40 years, and they're only like just now being given their moment, Someone like Coleman Domingo. He was in Rustin, he was in, he was in Euphoria.
My first thought went to, I don't know his name. He was in The Goonies, and he was just in Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh, yeah, I feel bad, I don't remember his name.
Yeah. But
yeah, someone like that, right?
But he was in The Goonies and he was in Indiana Jones, and then wasn't in anything throughout his entire life.
Right.
He wanted to be an actor, and then now that he's like 56 years old, wins an Oscar.
Right. And there's a lot of people like that, and like I bring up Coleman Domingo because he's a phenomenal actor. Like he's genuinely so good, and it's like maybe it took him those 40 years, 30 years to get that good. Like, he probably wasn't that good when he first started, but like, I was listening to an interview with him of like, he was working through that whole time. He might have done other things, and he did, headshots for other actors for a little bit to make some money, but like, I consciously know, which is the biggest if imaginable, if I ever get a chance, it might take 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that.
I feel like that's the bridge you have to cross as any type of artist, is like, are you willing to not get your big break until you're an old man?
No, or someone like Vincent Van Gogh. They didn't sell a painting while they were alive.
Yeah, and then once they're dead, they're like the most famous name ever. Everybody knows them.
Everybody knows it. And I think that's something else that I think about that concept a lot, because Vincent Van Gogh wasn't voraciously painting because he was a very successful painter.
Mm-hmm.
He was painting because like he needed that.
Yeah.
He was also just a very disturbed individual, but like
Yeah.
he did it because he loved doing it, and so like obviously if I want to keep acting, I would very much like to be compensated for that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'd like to make some money, you know, and ideally I make enough money where I can do it full time and be able to, you know, live comfortably. But like right now I'm doing it for sometimes free, sometimes a little bit of money, but I'm doing it because I freaking love it.
Yeah.
Like I love the process of doing it. And so I'm hopefully gonna just continue getting satisfaction doing this thing over the next 25, 30, 50 years, and then maybe I get a really cool opportunity to do something big. But like I'm not necessarily doing it being like one day I'm gonna get my shot. I'm just like, this is a thing that I really enjoy doing and it makes me feel good, feel really satisfied and fulfilled doing it, so I'm just gonna keep doing it. And on the face of it, like other people might look at that and be like, what a waste of time, you know? Like, and I know that like, you know, my dad's probably like, is that how you're using your vacation days to go to a film? And I'm like, yeah, Dad, I freaking love doing it. And he's like, all right, have fun, you know. But it's like on from the outside, it doesn't look practical. It doesn't make sense. But it's like everyone does something because they just enjoy doing it. Like Van Gogh painted because he loved doing it, not because he was a successful painter. The dude was in an insane asylum.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't doing great, but like that was his thing. So I think I'm just gonna keep doing these creative things, you know, on the side, probably my whole career, and I may never get my opportunity. Is it still recording?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I was just checking for. I was like, we're about at 30 minutes. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
But I feel like, as any artist, but like specifically being an independent one, I think the only way you're gonna be satisfied is if you're doing it for yourself. As soon as you try and do it for other people,
Yeah.
then your satisfaction is based off of like what comes from your work, which is not
Right.
what it should be, which is your
Right.
satisfaction coming from your work just being your work that you're doing.
Yeah. And
Like,
there have been a lot of other artists who have said things like that. I remember seeing David Bowie being like, anytime somebody starts making music with the intention of it being a commercial success, it's their worst work. You know what I mean? And I think that like that concept goes across like almost every artistic medium, like especially like music and filmmaking. It's like you look at a film that is made to be a blockbuster success, they're not always great films, you know, and they feel inauthentic and plastic, and you're just like, you know, there's not a lot of soul to them.
You can tell when it's really somebody pouring their heart out versus like somebody
Right.
trying to get an audience to look at them.
Right. And I mean, there's plenty of like, you know, made to be blockbuster movies that are a great time. But like, there's also so many of those movies that you watch them and you're like, this was somebody's passion project,
Mm-hmm.
and you can, I think, a smart audience can tell.
Yeah.
And those are the films that I try to seek out, and those are the films that I feel like have the best performances. Like from an acting standpoint, I love when something is well written, and you have an actor who knows the text and knows the character and gives it room to breathe. Like one of my favorite films recently was Past Lives, and so much of that film is literally the two lead actors sitting and talking or sitting and not talking. And it's like enthralling and it's beautiful and they do so much communicating with their eyes and it's lovely. Past Lives is not going to make $200 billion.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not. It's not that kind of movie. It might win an Oscar because it's a beautiful movie, but like it's not going to be a commercial success, at least not a blockbuster success. But that doesn't make it any less of a valuable film. And on that vein, like something that I've had to kind of come to terms with myself really over the last, I think, year and a half is not everyone is going to get your idea.
Mm.
And not everyone is going to recognize the value of your work or your performance. But that's okay. Because, like, I started painting my mom was an art teacher, so I kind of grew up around art, but I can't really paint like her
Mm-hmm.
because she does beautiful like landscape watercolors. I cannot make my hands do it. So
I was gonna say I've seen your paintings.
they're not watercolors.
They're not.
They are not lovely landscape
watercolors.
Like the ones in my kitchen, which are all those beautiful like landscapes. Those are like my granddad or my great granddad who inspired my mom to become a painter because she saw his stuff. And she's like,
Okay.
Dad. So I cannot make anything close to what my mom can make. And so when I was a kid, I was like, well, I must not be a good painter because that was the only paintings I was seeing was my mom's. And so I was just like, I'm not a good painter. I'm not going to do it. And then in college, I was like, you know what? I'm going to give that a shot. And I have to give credit to my ex-girlfriend on this one because we had like a paint night. And I had not painted in probably 10 years before that. And we had a paint night, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do something abstract because at that point I was getting really into like abstract artists like Clifford Still and Jean-Michel Basquiat and things like that. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to try something in that vein. I'm just going to like be a kid playing with colors, you know, taking all the crayons out of the box and just scribble. And I had a blast doing it. And I'm very happy with how it turned out. It looks nothing like my mom's paintings, but it's something that I made and I think looks interesting.
Yeah.
And I had fun doing it. So I just kept doing that. And I, you know, kept painting weird, abstract, kind of low-key disturbing looking faces. But I have a blast doing it, you know.
I hope you, earlier, I was gonna say, I hope you know, earlier tonight, I was defending your art to one of my coworkers.
Were you actually?
Yeah. I brought up this podcast and how we were doing a podcast tonight, and I told him that you did abstract paintings, and I was like, but it's like the good abstract.
No, I will say abstract gets a horrible rap. And some of it is genuinely trash.
No, that's what I was telling him. I was like, when it's just like throwing paint at a canvas.
Sometimes it is cool.
Some of that's cool.
But like, Jackson Pollock is really the only drip painter that people remember because he was like the first to do it. You know?
Yeah.
Like, somebody will look at my mom's paintings and say, that's a beautiful painting. Like that is what art is.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll look at mine and they'll be like, yo, what was this guy doing? Like that's ugly. But then there's always going to be the flip side of that where people will look at mine and be like, that's sick, that's awesome. And they might not get as much joy or comfort or satisfaction from, you know, like a watercolor landscape. So I'm not going to paint something that like I think other people will like.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't guarantee that. You can't guarantee that people will find it interesting. I know from my paintings, my mom does not like them. She finds them very disturbing. But I have friends who'll be like, dude, that's it. I want that for my apartment. Like, can I buy it from you? And I'm like, you want to actually give me money for this? Like, I didn't do this for money. Like, I just had an afternoon and wanted to play with colors. Like, that's all it was. But other people will be like, that's awesome. That's super cool. Like, I haven't seen anything like that or whatever. And it's like, okay, some people will recognize it, some people won't. And that goes for films because, you know, there's a film that you love that I might think is stupid and vice versa. And same thing with, like, performances. There are actors who I think do phenomenal work that do not get enough recognition. And there are A-list celebrities that I'm like, that person cannot act.
How do they get that job? Yeah.
Exactly. And it's like, it's so, and that's the thing is, like, art is so subjective that it's like, why do you punish yourself for it not being received the way you expected?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it just hasn't been received by the right people yet.
I feel like part of that goes into the fact that, like, you don't know your audience until you make the thing. Like,
oh yeah, for sure, yeah.
And until you make the thing for just yourself being the audience,
Mm-hmm.
you're not gonna know what audience is gonna take it and what audience isn't. One thing that, I mean, I don't have a happy ending for this story, but I have the story, which is my thesis film.
Mm-hmm.
For when we showed it at the showcase with all of the other seniors' thesis films,
Mm-hmm.
it got nominated for Best Screenplay, which I'm, you know, it's a pleasure to just be nominated.
Yeah, right.
It is an honor to just be nominated, and it really was. Like, I specifically for screenplay,
Yeah.
that's the one that like I did want the most, like, because I want to be a writer
Right.
more than anything. Probably,
Mm-hmm.
I think, is I want to be a screenwriter, and so seeing that my screenplay got nominated for Best Screenplay is like
Oh, that's
that's great. But it didn't win anything. And I also got nominated for Best Actor. Didn't win. For Red Gloves.
Oh, for Red Gloves, yeah.
Didn't win. And that sucks.
Which, you did do great in that, by the way.
And, thanks. But right after the showcase, Miller came up to me and pretty much just told me, like, he told me a happy ending to a different person's story, which was that there was a student came in similar to me, had a film that got nominated for a couple things, didn't win anything, didn't really get much appraisal, nobody really loved it. Then they went and brought it to a bunch of different short film festivals, won a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just like, this just wasn't their audience.
Exactly.
And it did have an audience. You were just looking at the wrong place. Now, that didn't necessarily happen for me, for my short film.
Right.
But, like, yeah, sometimes it's just... Sometimes you're just not going to see it right away. Like, sometimes you just need to keep shopping around and keep showing people.
Right.
And keep doing that thing, also.
Right. And it's also, like,
yeah.
You made that movie and you wrote that movie because that was a story that you thought was worthwhile. And you probably had a blast making it, I imagine. And it just didn't find its audience.
Yeah.
And, like, I think a lot of people will get to that point where you're at now, and if it's not received the way they were hoping, they just give up.
Yeah.
And I think that sucks because it's like, no, like, you made something that you were happy with, you were proud of, you had fun doing, and you just didn't find your audience. That doesn't mean that you suck. That doesn't mean that your film sucks. Sometimes it means your film sucks.
Sometimes.
But, like, if you're an artist and you create something and it isn't received, that doesn't immediately just not make you an artist. You know? And I think that's where, like, the imposter syndrome comes in for a lot of people. Like, for me, I didn't want to even call myself an actor because it was like, well, I'm not, like, a professional actor.
I still hate calling myself a photographer. And I've, like, done actual photography jobs that I've gotten paid for.
Right, and it wasn't, like, I had a conversation with Grace where I was like, well, I'm not, like, an actor. And she was like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, well, I'm not an actor. Like, it's not my job. And she goes, have you been paid for acting? I was like, yeah. She goes, you're an actor.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh. But I think, like, that, if people think, oh, if I'm not, like, a full-time filmmaker, a full-time photographer, I'm not a photographer. Like, it's not my job. And it's like, no, you were making photography. You may sell it here and there. Somebody may hire you here and there. You're a photographer. But then I think people also think if you're not a sort of commercial success in whatever your chosen field is, then you're not succeeding either. And it's like, that doesn't make any sense. You're going to say Van Gogh was not a painter because he didn't sell paintings while he was alive? It's like, no, he was objectively a very successful artist, just not while he was alive.
Yeah.
That doesn't make him less of a painter. You know, and if I'm not making a boatload of money and on posters everywhere, that doesn't not make me an actor. Doesn't not make you a filmmaker. But I think people get to that point of, like, it is not being received or being acclaimed the way I was really hoping it would. It must not be of value, and my talents must not be desirable. Yeah. And I think that's just, like, that sucks because I think the industries we built around those artistic mediums sort of propagate that idea that that's what success is, and you lose the value of, like, you are making that because you have something you want to say, and you should say it.
Yeah.
Not everyone's going to want to listen, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't say it.
See, in high school, like, specifically around senior year, when I pretty much decided I was, like, I was deciding that I was going to go to film school, I would not tell people I was a photographer. I'd tell people I did photography as a hobby.
Yeah.
Specifically because, like, I didn't want to give myself the pressure of, I have to become a photographer now, because I've told people I'm a photographer.
Oh, yeah, no, I know exactly.
Which, like, that's not the case. Like, you can be a photographer and not, quote-unquote, make it.
Absolutely,
like,
yeah. Do you ever feel like giving it a label is, like, very self-aggrandizing?
Yeah. That's where the imposter syndrome comes in.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not, I'm not
like,
that.
Yeah, like, I always felt that way about, like, saying I was, like, an actor, because it's just, like, when I say it, I feel like other people hear, oh, I'm an actor.
Yeah.
You know, and I hate
That's how I feel.
that.
Yeah, that's how I feel about saying photographer.
So
in
I'm
any
a
sense.
photographer, and it's like
It's like,
you
what do
feel
you
like
mean?
it just sounds.
oh, so you're
douchey.
unemployed? like that's what I feel like I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like-
But again, like that's something that I genuinely have been like wrestling with that concept, and it's like, okay, well, not everyone's gonna like my paintings, not everyone is gonna like my writing, and so I kind of just started applying that like to me, where it's like I am by default a people pleaser, and like I hate saying no, and I'm like I want to like be agreeable with everyone, and it's like not everyone's gonna like me.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. Because the people who are my friends and the people who get me, get me. People who get my art, get it. The people who like my writing, like it. The people who don't, that's fine. There are plenty of other artists for them. There are plenty of other actors for them. There's plenty of other people for them. Because you know those people that you meet them and you're just like, I don't vibe with them. And it's like, that's okay. That doesn't mean that they're worth less as a person, or that I'm worth less as a person. And the same thing goes for what you create. It's like that's sort of an extension of what you want to bring into the world. Not everyone's going to get it. That's fine.
Yeah.
You just have to meet the right people, and sometimes it'll take a while to find your audience, to find your people. And, you know, I think people just sort of like give up and hide themselves because they just haven't met the right people yet. And I think that's like really disheartening.
And I feel like this is changing a little bit in the world with just social media and whatnot, but in general, I feel like there are not that many creatives in the world, but there are so many people that like entertainment. So there's essentially the majority of people in the world don't have that creative mindset. So when you tell them that you are a creator of some type or an artist of some type, they're gonna be a little bit judgmental.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they all watch the Hollywood movies. They all listen to the same musicians. They all like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like they still like that entertainment. So regardless of like what they may say about you and what they may think about you of like proclaiming that you are that thing,
Mm-hmm.
once you inevitably do, you know, make it or not, regardless, they still like your entertainment. They still like the thing that you're a part of.
Right.
Even though they're going to act like, I guess, cooler than it, you know what I mean?
Right.
Which that's where, for me at least in high school, that's where like photography as a hobby for me came in.
Yeah.
Was because a lot of the people I was telling that to didn't understand being a creative at all.
Mm-hmm.
And didn't understand, like, that whole concept was just like, alright dude, sure, yeah. Okay, yeah, sure you're gonna be a photographer. Yeah, oh yeah, you wanna make movies? Yeah, okay. But it's like at the same time, like they're gonna go watch a movie from somebody that was just like me at one point in their life.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
And I think it's like, because everyone kind of consumes those same things, you proclaiming that you're going to be the one that makes it is just like, oh, you want everybody to look at your stuff.
Yeah.
You want everyone to look at your movie or listen to your music. It's sort of like, you almost have to be a little arrogant
Mm-hmm.
to even try, you know. But the reality is there's so many people who they don't, I mean, they're not the face of it. They're not, you know, Spielberg, but it's like, you do have to be a little almost arrogant, at the very least confident, to be like, no, I am going to do this.
This is I think we maybe talked about this in the first episode, but like, it's like a catch-22, catch-21, catch-22?
Let's try to.
Catch-22, where basically it's like, obviously, you know, if you want to make it,
Yeah.
you have to never give up.
Yes.
But also, the people that give up don't make it. Like
Yeah.
like the people that we've heard of that made it never gave up. So obviously, if you never give up, you're gonna make it.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like, how do you know that?
Right. It's
So
you're either
it-
taking a 50-50 chance or a 0% chance.
Exactly.
Because if you give up, yeah, it won't work. And you might try your whole life and it not work. So it's like, oh, well, you should have just given up. It's like, no, well, there's still that coin toss of like, maybe,
Yeah.
you know.
But then that also goes into like why you need to be doing it for yourself more than anybody, because
Oh, absolutely.
there is the 50-50 of like you might not make it, and if you're 50 years old and you still haven't made it, are you gonna like hate your life because you tried this whole thing this whole time and you didn't actually want it? You just wanted the fame of it,
Right.
you know?
And it's one of those things that, like, sometimes it will take you that amount of time to get to a skill level that warrants you being successful in that. Because it's like, it's not necessarily like athletics where it's like, if you train really, really hard and you get to be the best, like, you know, you'll get a shot. It's like, you might already be the best, but you just can't get anybody to, like, look at your work yet.
Yeah.
You could be a phenomenal writer. You just can't get your script on the table.
Yeah.
And, like,
I agree. It's definitely much more extreme
again,
for any type of a creative field.
The best screenplay to one producer might not be that interesting to another producer.
Yeah.
So it's like, you might be getting in meetings and presenting your work, but, like, maybe you're just not meeting the right people, you know?
And I think part of that is, like, I mean, you hear stories about, you know, producers only read, like, the first sentence of each screenplay before they just decide or not decide if they're going to read any more.
Right.
And, like, part of that might just be, you know, your first sentence of your screenplay is bad, and the rest of it is, like,
phenomenal.
The Godfather, but, you know, you're just, nobody's going to read the rest of it because the first part is bad, and that's just how it works sometimes.
I've honestly, I don't know if you've noticed this, I've started paying attention to how movies and TV shows start, and I've started to notice, especially, like, newer stuff is so heavily front-loaded, because, one, if you're a producer reading a script, it has to be interesting on the first page.
Yeah.
But also, because there's just so much content now, it has to intrigue the audience in the first 5 minutes. And if you don't do either of those things, your project's probably not going to get made. So, like, there's so many things that start with a big bang. You know, you think about, like, Breaking Bad. It starts in the middle, that first sequence of them, like, him in his underwear on the road and the police are coming. You start that show, you're like, yo, what is this about? And then it goes back, and you get all of the exposition and whatever. So I think I've started to notice, like, shows front-loading with, like, something crazy on the jump. And I'm, like, always trying to figure out, like, as I'm writing something, that's never really where you want to start. You want to start with, like, establishing the scene and the characters, but that is the most boring part.
I think that the whole idea of, like, the producer reading just the first page is literally, I think, where the gimmick of, like, starting at the end of the movie came from. That whole gimmick of, like, I bet you're wondering how I got here. You know, like you know what I mean? Like, that so many movies have done. I think that whole gimmick, I think, fully came from, like, at one point in time.
That was just an industry required.
Yeah, that was some guy thought of that and was like, dude, this is how I get my script to be, like, ready. I'll just put the end of the movie in the beginning, and then I'll make them read the rest of it.
Yeah, make them wait to, you know, explain it. Yeah. Honestly, you're probably right.
And honestly, like, that's how social media is now, also. You go on social media, you start scrolling, and it's like, you see the, like, if there's, say, I don't know what your For You page is like, but, like, sometimes I'll see, like, some argument or something between somebody, and so the start of the video is, like, two people screaming at each other. And then it, like, cuts to the beginning of the video.
Yeah.
And it's just because they want you to watch.
Right, because they know, especially on something where you're literally just scrolling, if they don't get you in those first 3 seconds, the bounce rate on videos is crazy.
Yeah.
Because most people just don't stick around. So they have to get you so you don't bounce. You know, and...
The hook.
No, exactly. And, like, I've started to see, like news pages do that as well. Where, you know, if it's a really interesting video, like if it's a security camera video or, like, a segment from a politician and they drop a swear word or something, they'll put it at the beginning, and then they'll go back and they'll show you the rest of what the politician was saying in context. Right?
That's why I just took a journalism class in the fall, and literally they were teaching, like, I guess
inverted pyramid.
I was gonna say reverse pyramid. I was about to say I'm gonna butcher the term.
Yeah.
But yeah, inverted pyramid. They were teaching that, and just like how essentially you start with the crazy thing, and then you give just a little bit of it, and then you.
And that, I mean, that's been, like, standard practice for, I mean, a while.
Yeah.
Where it's like, that was one of the things in journalism school, and then also when I started news writing, it's like, it's called burying the lead if you don't put the most interesting fact at the beginning. You know, because you might read through and it's like you find out later, and the killer was 16? It's like, no, you gotta put that in the beginning.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're burying the lead. So, like, I'll read an article and I'll find something interesting halfway through, and I'm like, why wasn't this in the headline? Why wasn't this in the lead sentence? Like, this is crazy, you know? And so that's become sort of standard for me, is like, we get a press release and it's all a bunch of, like, jargon and whatever. I'm always looking for, like, okay, what's my hook? What's my lead-in sentence? Because, I mean, from, like, TikToks to movie scripts to news, like, we're trying to get people to stay to watch the whole story. You know, like, we're trying to keep people watching 8 minutes of news content, so we put all of the crazy stuff at the beginning of the show, just to keep them for that amount of time. And it, like, sometimes it's just really hard to do. And I think it's easier in news to, like, have a good, interesting first sentence versus something narrative. But you got to figure out, like, okay, how do I take the most interesting part of my film and lead with it, but also not give away the rest of the film? That is very difficult, I think.
Yeah. I feel like I started kind of learning that in high school when I, like, did vlogs. Because I'd do, like...
I didn't know you did vlogs.
You didn't know I did vlogs?
No, that's hilarious.
That's basically what this is now. It's because I wanted to start doing
This
vlogs
is filling
again.
the void of vlogs.
I wanted to start... So, like, the reason I did vlogs in high school is essentially because... Well, it's because I wanted to become Casey Neistat. But...
Didn't we all?
Right?
Around the longboard with his cool shades.
But I kind of told myself, as an artist should, I'm doing this for myself. I just want to have a little time capsule of my high school years. And genuinely, like, that's what it has become now. Because they're really cringy when I look back at them now. But there are some of the vlogs that I actually really like. And I'll go back and watch and I'll be like, oh, this is so cool. Like, I love that I did this, that I get to, like, see my high school self, like, with all my friends, just doing stupid stuff. Like, it's great.
Yeah.
But I kind of, like, feel like I understood thumbnails in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I started, like, around high school when I would tell stories to people. Literally, I'll do, like, inverted pyramid. Like, I learned that, but I learned the idea of inverted pyramid way before I took that journalism class. Of just, like, if I start telling somebody a story, I'll start with, like, I'll tell them just, like, a snippet of the most crazy thing, but not give them everything.
I pooped my pants. Let me set the scene.
I pooped my pants today. Let me tell you about it. And then, like, then I'll break it down. But then it hooks, it makes people listen to your stories a lot better.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And
they're like, get to the part where you pooped your pants.
that's why I'm sticking around, dude. The social media thing, though, I think that it ties into the general conversation, is like, there's just too much.
Mm-hmm.
There's just too much. Because, like, if you wanted to be successful in any, like, art form, say in, like, the 40s or 50s, right? Like, you just had to be the best painter in your class. And then maybe you're the best painter in your grade. And then maybe you're the best painter at your school. And then maybe, if you're really good, you're the best painter in your small town, right? Everybody knows you're like, oh, Jimmy, he's great. He's going to go places. He's the best painter this town's ever seen, right? So you grow up thinking, I'm the best painter in, Ohio, or whatever small town you are in Ohio. And then maybe you go to a statewide competition, and you are the best painter in Ohio. And then it's like, okay, I'm a successful painter. I'm going to go to school in New York. Then you get to New York, and it's like, oh, wow, this is really hard. There's a lot of really good painters here. But then maybe if you keep plugging away at it, you are the best painter in the country, right? But that person who's learning their painting skills and they're developing their craft, they're doing it at a natural progression, right? Where it's like, you don't have to be a really great painter to be the best painter at your school.
Yeah.
You just have to be better than, your 50 classmates, right? But the problem is now is, like, there's a high schooler who's getting into painting, and, they think they're pretty good, they're enjoying it. Then they open up social media, and they immediately are like, oh, I suck. Terrible.
Yeah.
And it went from, all I have to do is be the best painter in my school to, I have to be the best painter in the actual world, because you can see everything else immediately. you have access to it. If you told that kid in like 1940, it's like you have to be the best painter in the world. It's like they'd be like, oh, I'm not doing that. That's not worth my time.
Yeah.
But they didn't have the natural progression, and I think a lot of people because of social media, the comparison, like, is just so much that they don't even want to try. And they're just like, it's not worth it. There's literally 50,000 painters on Instagram. I'm like, how's my stuff going to stand out? So just give up, And I think that you're missing the point of doing the thing because you're immediately confronted with everything that has ever existed.
Comparison is the thief of joy.
Right, but it's like, even, trying to get your work noticed, even if you are like, no, I'm doing this for me, but I want to be successful and I'm going to keep pushing my stuff. It's like you are immediately confronted with the reality that you are one Instagram username among 500 million. And it's like, how the hell do I get, my IG reel of a poem to go somewhere?
And I feel like even to add on to that, like, your For You page is curated to you.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, me personally, I want to be a filmmaker of some kind. If I go on my Instagram, it feels like everybody wants to be a filmmaker. Because that's all the Instagram reels I see.
Right.
So
No,
it's
absolutely.
like, oh man, everybody wants to do this. But it's not. It's just like my
your-
For You page.
Your algorithm is just like, oh, he really likes this content.
Yeah.
No, that's a great point, because like now it's like you are being...
And
Your algorithm is literally feeding you everyone that is better than you.
Mm-hmm. And specifically, like, people that are younger than me.
Yeah.
Like, it'll just feed me, like, 14-year-olds that have, like, made short films that look beautiful, and I'm like, dude, man, I had these crappy vlogs when I was 14. Like,
right, but like it's a double-edged sword, because like if you wanted to be a filmmaker in like the 40s, it's like maybe you're the best one in your city, and then you move out to Hollywood, but it's like you can't really make your big movie until you go out to Hollywood and you get people on board. Now you can do whatever you want immediately.
mm-hmm.
Like, the barrier to entry is so low that like there is nothing preventing you from doing it. The problem is there's nothing preventing everyone else from doing it,
Mm-hmm.
and you're immediately seeing everyone else who's already doing it before you and maybe doing it better than you. And so you're just like, oh, well, crap, I don't have a shot.
Yeah.
And like, part of that's kind of true. Like, it's way harder now. And now, unfortunately, especially like newer projects, they want to finance films that have people attached who have a social following. So now it's like you have to build your social following to even get people to look at your script. It doesn't matter if your script's good. It's like, do you have 20,000 Instagram followers? You don't? All right, we're going to only go with somebody that like has an audience, because we're not going to take a bet on somebody who doesn't have an audience already. And it's like, one, that's stupid, but two, now you have to do two things. You have to have a good story, and you have to have other people who agree that you're good at what you do. And it's like, as somebody who's like first starting out in something, that looks so daunting.
And again, to go back to like the inverted pyramid of like, not only do you have to have good work,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to make sure it's seen. So, yeah, say you're just a poet, so you just want to write your poetry,
Mm-mm.
and you're like, well, let me just post it on Instagram because I feel like I should do this, and maybe somebody will see it. But you don't just have to be good at poetry then. Now you have to be good at poetry, and you have to be good at like making the algorithm work for you.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because that is a skill. Like, yes, you can just have... Like, obviously, there are so many people that are famous and don't necessarily make the algorithm work for them.
Mm-hmm.
But...
Their work has to be really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to get stuff seen, unless your work is amazing,
Mm-hmm.
you have to also make the algorithm work for you. And then that's just an extra job that has nothing to do with what you want to do.
Right. It has nothing to do with actually making a quality thing. Because then that kind of goes back to making something for a specific reason, of like making something so that the algorithm will pick it up, or making something so that you can hit some sort of social demographic. And it's like, but now you're making it for your audience. You're not making it for you. You're not making it for the story that's supposed to be told. So it's like, you're kind of low-key being an independent artist kind of sucks.
Yeah.
That's been the majority of this conversation.
Hey guys, podcast topic: being an independent artist sucks.
Don't give up.
Give
Don't
up
do
on
it.
your hopes and dreams.
It's just like it's the worst, actually. But
but you have to.
that is genuinely the reality that you're up against, and I honestly don't blame people who give up.
Yeah.
It's
But
like,
I think that's why you need to be doing it for yourself.
absolutely.
That's so. What I was saying.
Yeah.
This podcast is basically like I wanted to start vlogging again,
Yeah.
but I didn't really like vlogging.
Yeah.
I kind of just did that in high school because that's what Casey Neistat did, and I had a camera, and
Well, that would have been like summer 2016, which is when like vlogs were the thing.
that's what I'm saying. Vlogs were the thing,
Right.
and I wanted. Well, at first it started off just like I had my mom's. I've been fiddling with cameras since I was like 7, 8 years old.
Right.
But around high school time was when I started like really getting into the idea of like working with a camera for the rest of my life, and like if that's what I wanted to do or not.
Mm.
And that's when I was like, vlogs, dude. Vlogs are gonna make it. I'm gonna like be awesome because of vlogs.
Mm.
But what they turned out to be is just like these time capsules of my high school years
Right.
that now I just love because they're just these time capsules that I just get to look back on every once in a while and be like, dude, this is awesome. These
Yeah.
are like me from high school, and it's so cool. And I wanted to start vlogging again for that reason now.
Mhm.
For literally just the reason of like I want time capsules of my life in video form, and I think it's really cool. But I didn't want to vlog anymore because I didn't love vlogging. I didn't like the act of like filming my day because there was a lot of boring stuff that would happen. I felt like a lot of it just wasn't worth putting on camera.
Mhm.
And I started listening to podcasts, and I thought, well, it'd be kind of cool to have like that time capsule idea, but for just,
Mhm.
if I did a podcast once a week, that's still the same idea of like I can look back on, my thoughts that I was having at that point in my life.
Right.
Um,
And you can also like watch your own sort of evolution of ideas.
yeah,
Because you'll probably, maybe you will, maybe you won't. You'll probably look back at this in like 5 years and be like,
oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
oh dang, we were.
Dude, that's so cringy.
Yeah,
That sucks.
Like what was it? Like we thought we had that thing figured
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Like, and that's like, it's. I think it is important. And I think that's why people tell me to like journal, because it's like you are putting to paper the ideas that you will eventually grow out of,
Mm-hmm.
and it's good to recognize those, because if you have the same ideas in 5, 10, 15 years, you probably have stagnated, dude. Like especially in creative work, you need that evolution.
Yeah.
But like some of those things you look back on, I'm like, actually that was a good idea. I'm gonna come back to that. You know, like some of the film script ideas I have that I'm sort of workshopping now are like ideas I had 5, 6 years ago, and I just like wrote them down in my notes app on my phone, and then I'm like going through deleting stuff, and I'm like, I should come back to that.
Yeah.
And there might be like something funny you said in a vlog where you're like, oh, that's actually a great line, I'm going to use that in a script now. So like having those sort of creative checkpoints.
Chad Fantastic's Fantastic Adventure
Yeah.
is all about a guy that, I don't even know if you understood this part of the movie because it's such like, it's the whole movie.
Yeah.
It's the main story of the movie, but like it's such an underlining point of the movie that it kind of just gets brushed by. But like the whole concept is he wants to go meet his travel vlogging idol,
Mm-hmm.
David Cassie, who is just a mix of David Dobrik and Casey Neistat.
I didn't realize that part.
You didn't realize that? Yeah.
Oh god, that's funny.
But it's because he wants to go be a travel vlogger. And that that whole concept came from, and I told people when I was writing it was like, Chad isn't me, but it's like who I thought I was in high school. It's like definitely who I thought Chad was who I thought I was in high school.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to like make this movie now. So like, clearly those vlogs did something because they essentially came up with this whole idea for this movie I made. So like you never know what you're like as an artist. If you make something that's bad,
Mm-hmm.
you never know if that's gonna stay bad forever.
Right.
Like, because it might look terrible and be bad, but that terrible bad thing could bring life to something else that could be amazing.
Right. There was I saw an interview with Willem Dafoe, who is like objectively a absolutely generational actor. He doesn't have a bad movie. Like, but he said he was like, something that I think about sometimes is like, what if I tried to do it badly? Like, what if I tried to act bad? What if I tried to make a bad movie or tried to make a bad painting? It's like, is it actually that bad? You know, like if I try to paint really badly and at the end I look at it, I'm like, oh, that's terrible. Somebody else might look at it and be like, no, it's pretty good, you know? So it's like, you almost don't even know, it's so, and it comes down to like every artist is their own worst critic. It's like, you almost don't even know how bad or good an idea is until you kind of just leave it for a little bit and you come back to it. Or you show it to somebody else and you're just like, hey, I tried to make a bad painting, what do you think? Is it bad? And they're like, no, I like it. It's like, you almost can't even recognize when you've actually made something of value or not. And I think is interesting.
You understand you're telling me this after like 2 weeks ago I asked you, hey, do you want to make a bad movie together?
It probably will be a bad movie.
Yeah.
But we're going to have a great time doing it.
I'm sure.
Most likely. Unless you're a jerk to me for whatever reason. Or I'm a jerk to you.
I don't think that
But at the same time, we'll probably like stumble upon some like really funny bits that if they don't exist within that film, we can use in something else. You know. Yeah. Now that I've like started to actually like write more, there are so many things where like I'll be sort of just like talking with my coworker, or I want to say talking by myself in the car, and I'm like, oh, that's funny, and then I'll go home and I
write that down.
Yeah. So it's like, I think this is sort of an unrelated thought, but I'm just now thinking of it. Is like, the thing that makes being an artist really fun is that like everything can be used in your art, and part of the sort of practice of being an artist, and you don't even have to be doing your thing to do it, is just the art of noticing, of like noticing a funny moment at work and being like, I'm gonna write that down.
Mm-hmm.
Or noticing, a really pretty composition, you're like, I'm gonna go home and get my camera, I'm coming back.
Mm-hmm.
So like, being an artist is an everyday thing. You're kind of always in the process of collecting materials that you'll use in your art. Are you familiar with Rick Rubin, the music producer? And like sort of like
really familiar, but maybe it's
modern
just like
philosopher type guy. Reuben sandwiches are slept on. A good Reuben, that'll change your life, man. But no, Rick Rubin has like something where it's like, he's sort of a meditation guy, and he's like, the universe is always going to be giving you ideas, but it's giving ideas to everybody, and it's your job to take the time to notice it, figure out what shape it's going to take, and then put it out. And you can't be mad if somebody else takes that idea, because it's like, they gave it shape before you did.
Mm.
Like, that idea was going to happen at some point. It's like, it's your job to notice it. And if somebody else noticed it for you, they didn't steal your idea, they were just more in tune with what that idea would be. So, like, I'm kind of always having ideas, but I sort of end up hitting a stalemate where I'm like, I don't know what that idea is. Like, I don't know if it's a painting or a song or a poem or a short story. So then I'm like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, so I'm just not going to do it yet.
Because of what you just said, of like, sometimes somebody else is just going to just do the idea before you do it.
Right.
And sometimes it was their idea. It wasn't yours. You may have had it, you may have thought you had it at the same time, but it wasn't yours. I was told by, I don't want to give the wrong credit, either Nelson or Wales told me this. The best way to look at it when you're not getting jobs, or when you see your friend get a job that you don't get on a film set or something, it wasn't yours.
Yeah.
It wasn't yours. That was their job. Don't be jealous at them. Don't be mad at them. Mm-hmm. It wasn't your job. And part of that, I think, has to do with being a Christian and, like, knowing that, God's got me through this.
Yeah.
But the other part of it is just, like, you can't be bitter at people because they did good work.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you didn't. Or maybe you just didn't get seen. Like, you can't be bitter at other people for that. Like, if you applied for a job and somebody else applied for the job and they got the job, that's not your job. Don't act like that was your job and that, like, oh man, they took the job I was supposed to have.
Right.
No, they didn't. They took their job
Yeah.
that they were supposed to have,
Yes.
and you're just mad about it.
No, and honestly, that's a really good point, and that's something that like genuinely pisses me off all the time
Mhm.
because like, you know, you do get to a point where it feels like it's yours, especially if it's like a creative job or even just like a normal job, and you've been interviewing, you feel like it's going really well, and you're like, I could do this, I could for sure do this, and then they give it to somebody else, and it's like, that doesn't mean that like you're not worth it.
Yeah.
Or that you suck. It's like, no, it's the other person's job.
Yeah.
The idea isn't anybody's unless it's made.
Yeah.
Then it's whoever made it. And if somebody else made it before you, it's theirs. The job isn't anybody's unless you get it. Then it's yours. If you didn't get it, it's someone else's. Like, my therapist was telling me this because, like, again, I'm very competitive and I'm like, I have to keep doing it. And she's like, you know everything you're supposed to know right now. And I'm like, no, I don't. There's so much I don't have figured out. And she goes like, no. You know enough right now. Like, everything that you know right now, that's all you need to know.
Yeah.
You'll continue to learn, but kicking yourself for not knowing is stupid. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're getting mad for not knowing something that, like, you'll learn eventually. And you'll learn it when you need to. And I think if you have at the very least, sort of a spiritual understanding of your life having a story and an arc where you do learn and you grow, like, if you believe that's true, then there's no reason not to just trust the process.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I know that there's like so much that I'm not prepared for, but I have to believe that if it's meant to happen, I'll learn it and I'll get there, you know. And I've had to start applying that to like my creative work and my personal life. Like, one of my biggest desires in life is to be a dad. Like, I want to be a dad so freaking bad. But that means that, like, in order to be a good dad, which I want to be, I don't want to be a crappy dad, I have to be a good husband. And it's like, okay, well, I don't have a partner. That's okay. Like, that person will find me at some point, or I'll find them. That's okay. But in the meantime, what can I do? If I want to be a good dad and I want to be a good husband, what can, 20-something-year-old Ezra do now to prepare to be a good dad? Okay, what can I do? I can go to therapy. I can take care of myself. I can go to the gym. I want to be a good husband. All right, I'm going to start, like, reading on how to communicate better, how to articulate how I'm feeling to my partner. Because if I don't, it's going to cause conflict. I'm not going to be a good husband. So that idea of, like, you want something so bad, your choices are, I can be resentful that I don't have it right now, but you're not ready for it. That's why you don't have it. Because if you've got everything you wanted right now, you don't know enough. You don't have all the lessons yet. I'm not going to be a good dad if I got married and had a kid tomorrow. I'm not at that point because I have to grow in that. So I can either be resentful now, or I can just be like, okay, well, clearly God hasn't given me a wife or kids, then I got to learn some more.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm open. God, what do I need to learn? What books do I need? What person do I need to meet? What failed relationships do I need to have so that when the right one comes along, I know exactly what I need to do? And just trusting that, like, what is meant for you will be, and right now is all you need. And just, like, trusting that. I think that applies to your relationships, that applies to family, that applies to art. Like, you will learn when you're ready to learn.
There's two types of people in the world, and there's the lazy ones that take this concept too far, of like, well, I have plenty of time, I'm exactly where I need to be, I'm okay.
Oh, yeah.
Those are the people that don't need to be hearing this. That like, no, you probably
it's like,
should get a job.
They'll figure it out, buddy.
And then there's the people that do need to hear this, that feel like the lazy person. No matter where they're at in life, they still feel like the lazy person.
Right.
And they're going to keep, working themselves to death and always feeling like they're not doing enough. Mm-hmm. And they're the people that need to be hearing this.
Right.
But they're going to continue to feel like they're the lazy one until they...
That is a good point. I think if you...
I stole that from Modern Wisdom's podcast. They talked exactly about this, actually.
It's all art is theft. all artists that not like. I think if you truly are a creative person, that drive to create doesn't go away.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's people who like want to be a creative person and they may have like one good idea and they just like don't actually commit themselves to doing any work and they end up being that lazy person.
Yeah.
I think we both know plenty of people who are like
Everyone has an idea.
they're
for a
like,
movie.
"Oh dude, I got this great screenplay." I'm like, "All right, dude, I want to read it. Write it."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Well, I've been working on it." And I'm like, "I'll read it.
Yeah.
Write it." The sort of long-term goal is that, you know, when I've sort of am done with whatever ideas I have, I would really like to teach and probably like write independently, keep doing some creative stuff on the side. But I think once I'm done with all of my ideas, I want to help other people make their ideas.
Nice. That's great.
We'll see if it happens. Stay tuned for the next 40 years.
Yeah, stay tuned.
We'll see how that plays out.
Good luck, future Tyler and Ezra.
What a wholesome way to end that.
Yeah.
Hi, buddy. I hope you did good. If not, that's my fault, technically.
That's on you.
That's fully. Wait, you mean to tell me that my life is my responsibility? Crap.
Great.
Honestly, these are much more comfortable than I was anticipating. You're familiar with the term dad lore, right?
What is this?
Dad lore?
Dad lore.
Like doing like unique, maybe dumb, possibly even criminal stuff when you're younger for the purpose of like telling your kids a wild story like about when you were younger. Cuz like our friend Matt, he anytime he had an idea that like maybe was a little questionable and I'm like, I don't know about that, he'd be like, "No, dude, it's for the dad lore." And I was like, "Oh, well, if it's for the kids, like surely I must oblige for the children, So like I think that it genuinely is, and this is something that even my therapist has told me. She was like, it's okay to act your age, because like you're in your early 20s, like you're not supposed to know everything. You're supposed to go have fun with your friends, do some dumb stuff, don't do crime, and ideally don't like do heroin, but like you're supposed to try a bunch of things. You're supposed to like go to Costa Rica with nothing but a fanny pack. Like do stuff. Like try things. Discover who you are. And you'll be surprised at the things that you learn along the way. And some of that will just be packed away as dad lore. Some of that may end up being useful. He lived on a farm in Ukraine. Him and all of his siblings had to share one pair of shoes. And then they had to walk on foot from Ukraine to Germany. They ended up getting captured in Hungary. His brothers were abducted and sent off to a prisoner of war camp. He ended up in a displaced persons camp for like 5 years. Then ended up in New York City as a teenager, and his first job was driving in railroad ties on the railroad in New York. And then he moved to upstate New York and met my grandma. And I'm like, that is peak dad lore.
Yeah, and when I was 7, like, the iPod came out.